BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation about your Kundalini Awakening experience. My name is Chrism, and I am joined in our living room studio with Rosemary Goliath, student extraordinaire, seminar presenter extraordinaire, movie presenter extraordinaire for the Twin Cities of Minnesota, and that would be St. Paul and Minneapolis in Minnesota. And so I would just like to say hello to Rosemary. Hello, Rosemary.
Hello, Chrism. It is a joy to be with you and all our listeners.
She says that through tears. You should see her right now. She's hello, Chrism. But no, I'm only kidding. And I'd like to, before we get going too much further, I would like to welcome the Queen of Questionable Comforts, Her Holiness, Santara Kundalini. Oh my gosh, there she is. She's in the red. She's in the Shakti red. Hello, Santara.
Hi, Chrism. Hi, Rosemary. Good to be here as usual. So I will begin as I always do, Chrism. I will give very quickly the address people can go to if they wish to make a donation to Kundalini Awakening System and support the work that has been done. You can go to www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com, and on the upper right-hand corner you will find the donate button, and it's very easy after that. As usual, you know by now there is no pressure on anybody to donate, but if you wish to do so, if you're in a position to do so, it is gratefully appreciated and received. So that's it, Chrism. Looking forward to the show very much.
Yes, I am too. And I just so everybody is warned, Blog Talk Radio has done some sort of an upgrade here, and we're waiting to see if this is an actual improvement or an impediment to our show. So if anybody in the chat room at the moment could give us a thumbs up or a happy face or some sort of an idea that the sound is coming in clearly and that we are actually speaking with an audience, that would be very, very much appreciated. Maybe Julia Julia. I mean, Julia and I are on a psychic wavelength. I tell you what, she is typing away. And Elizabeth says something. It looks like a one-toothed smile. So I think that would be an affirmative. Thank you, Elizabeth. Let's see. Julia says, the sound is great. Oh, my gosh, the sound is great. Great is the sound. Very good then. We will continue with this program, uninhibited. Let's see, just to cover up some of the basics, and I apologize, I'd like to welcome everybody who is listening. For those in the chat room, we have Julia, we have Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez, we have Bashti Guest, 1859, MJ Henderson typing away as we speak, Manisha Filkrumba, and Lilith Leanings. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this program. We have Andrew Parmalee just signed in. Hello, Andrew. And welcome to everybody who's listening live on their computer or their smartphone or their stupid phone, or for those who are listening in the future on the archives. Hello, all of you future people. Welcome to this program. If you'd like to get more information about this level of Kundalini that's coming through this program, please feel free to go to the Facebook networks with Kundalini Awakening ! Kundalini Awakening Systems 2, Kundalini Awakening Systems 3, Kundalini Healing, and any of the other various groups that we have on the Facebook network. We also have them on the Yahoo network, Kundalini Awakening Systems1.com. Or at Yahoo groups. Our website is KundaliniAwakeningSystems1.com. We also have Kundalini Healing on the Yahoo group. On the Google Plus groups, we have Kundalini Awakening ! And even on, what is that one group, that network that gives you the job listings? What's that called? LinkedIn. We even have a group on LinkedIn, and it's Kundalini Awakening Systems One on the LinkedIn network. So I would invite everyone to come through. We have Kundalini, we have Chrism Kundalini on the YouTube network as well. We have about 300 videos for you to partake of and to educate yourself about your Kundalini Awakening experience. And so with that all set aside, I would like to say that I would like to send out a thank you to Julia and to Steve and to Elizabeth and to Vashti and to Her Holiness Rosemary Goliath and to Her Holiness Amelia Santar, or Santar Kundalini as Facebook has renamed her, for all the great works that they are doing with regards to seminars, with regards to Kundalini Awakened communities, with regards to outreach, with regards to all of the various ways that people are being served by the people that are just mentioned within their Kundalini Awakening experience. And so thank you to you all. Today I would like to talk with you about testing. I had an earlier conversation with a student, and she's able to discern entities and entity attack, and she said, you're really, really under an extreme level of entity attack these days, Chrism. And I just want you to know, because I can see it now and I understand, that it can be detrimental to a person's awakening experience. And I just want to say to that we are all constantly being tested by the Kundalini, not just with entities, but also with the level of phenomena that's happening into an individual, such as, say, high BP or low BP, or extreme heart rate increase or extreme low heart rate, with the levels of some of the nightmares we may be having. I have one student right now that's being influenced by negative entities, and they're showing up in her dreams, and they're doing really lousy things to her in their dreams. And I just want you to recognize these things as constant levels of testing that a Kundalini person will undergo. This is not, I have the Kundalini Awakening, well then, I can drive my car without my hands. Sure, that may happen, but don't try it. Realize this as really a great level of testing for the ego. Remember what the ego holds as true to itself. It holds fear as true to itself. It's learned through however long that person has been alive that fear is something to be avoided, that fear brings on certain types of phenomena, shaking, extreme anxiety, high heart rate, high BP, fight or flee syndrome, the whole bit, and this brings it on. But the same thing is what the Kundalini does. The Kundalini can do the same thing. And so there can be a cross-interpretation of what is happening within the individual by the ego. Okay? And so as you have this knowledge, as you realize that the Kundalini also places a great burden of phenomena and inner turmoil sometimes upon a person that can resemble fear, that the ego can grasp as fear, your higher functioning mental process needs to understand that is not the case. You are not going into fear. You don't need to go into fear. And I'm going to talk with Rosemary a little bit right now about some of the fear that she's experiencing. Now, Rosemary, as per an earlier conversation you and I had about your experience with the Sri Yantra, and everybody, the Sri Yantra is a Tibetan Buddhism-oriented design of different triangular positions. Now, I'm sure Julia can correct me if I've got that wrong with regards to the origin of the Sri Yantra, and I believe there is also a shamanic Hindu origin of the Sri Yantra. But that being said, Rosemary, when the Sri Yantra gave you phenomena, what occurred for you?
Well, I was doing the exercise as is intended and looking and giving it my focus. And Chrism had said to me that it is very, very effective with people, and I wasn't having that experience, but was working hard to achieve that. Then one night, towards the end of this, about 21 minutes, and all of a sudden, my mind shifted, but I saw the pattern shift like it's supposed to, and hadn't before that. But in that moment, my response was just fear, like, what is wrong with my mind here? what happened in my brain, and it shut down the whole process.
Exactly. Just like fear will do. Fear will shut down your processes, or at least point them in a direction that is far more destructive and far more, in many ways, instructive for you, so that you can realize that fear is not the way to go. And what Rosemary described to me is happening, that the pattern on the picture shifted. Well, it shifted itself right of the picture itself. It almost became 3D. Am I right, Rosemary?
Yes, it was, one half was on the other side. I mean, it was so fast, I have a vague picture in my mind because it just disappeared so quickly.
So even the smallest of phenomena can really throw us for a loop when it comes to this type of thing. Now, hang on, I have to adjust my iPad here because it's falling out of the case. Here we go. Sorry about all the noise, folks. Fear can really begin to alter our perceptions. It can begin to alter how we respond to Kundalini phenomena. And fear is also being used as a test by the Kundalini for our development. Everybody who has Kundalini, I don't care if they're Osho or Yogananda or Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Aurobindo, doesn't matter. Anybody that has a Kundalini is going to be encased in a constant level of testing within that divine grace. While we have bodies and while we are in society, we will constantly be tested. And with regard to Julia, and how she described me being under an especially strong form of entity attack. Well, yeah, that's true. And that happens all the time. It happens all the time, and it's nothing that I'm not used to. And yet, of course, I'm noticing that it's increasing, and I'm going, okay, here's what I have to do within my personal Kundalini awakening equation. This is how I need to adjust. This is what I need to say. This is how I need to say it. This is what I need to feel, say, pray, know, and exhibit in my everyday living in order to counterbalance some of these attacks and to learn from these attacks. I have known since I started teaching a little over 10 years ago that I was going to be under attack for this. Shall we call them, in the Star Wars vernacular, the forces of darkness. They don't want a lot of light coming into this world. They do not want Kundalini people to be enlightened. They do not like the whole idea of enlightenment. One student is, being tempted with enlightenment by having, being told by an entity in her dream state that here, this big old needle here, and, she's being shown this giant needle with this giant, with this fluid in it, and you just got to stick this in your neck, and I'll go ahead and push it on down, and you'll be enlightened. Or, they'll be offered a pill. Here, my little child, if you just take this pill, well, then you will be enlightened. It kind of reminds me of the Matrix. You take the blue pill or the red pill. So you don't want to let that confuse you. You don't want to let that drive you to making decisions that are not based in looking at the Kundalini within as the ultimate source of information. The Kundalini will allow you to be tested by entities. The Kundalini will allow you to be tested by your own fear, to be tested by your own fear of the many different and unusual symptoms that will come. The Kundalini will allow you to be tested by having a fragmentation, a Kundalini fragmentation of your life, where nothing works. No job, no income, even the car won't work. Okay? You won't be able to do anything the way you used to do it until you're able to recognize what is happening to you and change the vector of your response to the Kundalini within you. This is a very real deal, folks. I'm not making any of this up. None of this. This has all happened to me. I can come to you from authentic experience about everything I talk about in these programs. That's why we're doing these programs, to help people just like you going through a Kundalini awakening experience. And a lot more people are having that happen these days. With that in mind, I think a point of gratitude should be offered to John and Amelia O'Connor for allowing this program to go forward. And so I would like Centaur to come back into the Shakti red, if you would please. Yep, I know, you're sitting on that.
I'm here.
Amelia, and husband John, yes, and family of the O'Connors in the Emerald Isle of Ireland. I would like to say a personal thank you, on behalf of all the people that are listening, on behalf to all the people that are being helped by this program. I would like to say thank you to the both of you for providing the means and the ability for people to have this information in a broad context format. Thank you.
You're very welcome. If John was here, he'd say it as well. It's our pleasure to provide that platform, Chrism, for this to go out to people and to help people. So
that was
thank you, and you're welcome.
That you just gave. I got some of it, so I think that was.
Oh no, really? What you meant was you have no clue what I just said, yeah?
Kind of so, yeah, that's true. But I do want to say thank you. I want to say thank you on the behalf of many, many people that your grace has assisted into to not committing suicide, into not going to the psych ward, into not having their life totally disrupted and ruined because of a lack of information about the Kundalini awakening phenomena. So thank you very much, Centaur and John, and the whole O'Connor clan. In my opinion, the Kundalini kings and queens of Ireland. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrism.
Okay, so to continue, really, I am looking on the guest list here on the chat room, and I see that Her Holiness Elizabeth is here, and I want to give her a chance to make some very important announcements. And here she is. Yes, the Queen of the North. There she is, Elizabeth. How are you?
Hello, Chris.
Hello,
everybody. Hello. I am announcing again the next seminar is Kundalini at the Castle with special guest Dharma Sound Kirtan Seminar and Shakti Pot with Chrism. It's going to be Saturday, May 9th and Sunday, May 10th. 9 to 6 p.m. both days. It's being held at Manresa Castle in Port Townsend, Washington. There is still time to register, so call Elizabeth at area code 360-732-7076 or email me at Dalton Gonzalez, DAULTONGONZALEZELIZABETH.Elizabeth@gmail.com, or you can go to Kundalini Seminars and Events with Chrism on Facebook, and all of that information is there, so in case you couldn't write it down when I was saying it just now.
Give them your phone number again, would you please, Elizabeth?
Sure. It's area code 360-732-7076. And so if you have any questions, people have been calling me and emailing me, and then I just give them a rundown of the hotel and the cost, and I help them with transportation from the airport or anything you need, or any questions you have, just call me and ask me or email me.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Putting you into the Shiva blue, the great blue beyond. Here we are, and I do recommend. I mean, this seminar, this Kundalini at the Castle, is really building into a very, very special event. I've never had musical guests before, and the Dharma Sound is going to be, doing a lot of very, very interesting musical additions to this format. There are going to be many, many, many talks before the event that starts on May 8th. I mean, the whole week previous to that, we're going to be doing many talks at the different bookstores and different things like that. And I think I'm going to bring Elizabeth back on here. Elizabeth, where can they go if they just want to hear a talk or to experience a little taste of this somewhere else?
There are 5 talks the week before, like you were saying, starting on May 3rd, Sunday, May 3rd, at Vision Quest Bookstore in Everett, Washington. That's from 1 to 4 p.m., and I'm actually going there tomorrow to meet with them and check out the space and everything. And then Monday night is back here in Port Townsend at Phoenix Rising Bookstore, 696 Water Street in Port Townsend, 7 to 10 p.m. And then Wednesday is going to be a talk at the Castle with the Sarah Nash group, and that'll be from 6 to 8:30 p.m. And then Thursday we're over in Seattle at East West Bookstore, or Bookshop rather, on Roosevelt in Seattle, Washington. And then Friday we're back around in Silverdale, Washington at Expansions Yoga, which is Dharma Sound's regular space, and we'll be doing the kirtan and talk there as well. And then we're going to caravan up to the castle that night, and most of the people that are coming to the seminar are staying at the castle, so we're all going to just drive up from the Expansions Yoga talk.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. And every time I hear you say the word Seattle, I keep being reminded of that song, In Seattle. Anyway, thank you, dear Elizabeth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. Now, we do have a special guest here today besides Her Holiness Rosemary Goliath. Sailboat Mike. If Sailboat Mike is in the chat room column, or Centaur, if Sailboat Mike comes on, he'll have probably a 239 area code similar to Eileen's. If he comes on, I've asked him to come on because there's a very, very good and solid level of teaching that he has to offer those of us that are going through a Kundalini awakening experience. But in the meantime, I want to go back into these tests. You will be tested every way that you can imagine, and many ways that you cannot even imagine. One point during my early activation, I was drawn to come outside, and I lived out in the country in a place called the Valley of the Moon, and I was living in the Valley of the Moon in an RV, and basically somewhat homeless. Could you go and check out that caller, Santara, please? And I was drawn to go outside. I was drawn to remove my clothing. So here I am, I'm standing out there, and it's fortunately it's a warm day. But anyway, I'm standing out there, and all of a sudden I feel like a strong barometric pressure change. And the trees start to move around me, and I hear and I see way off in the distance, because I'm surrounded by kind of like a riparian forest in this part of California, and the trees are making a lot of noise about maybe 500 yards away, and it sounds like something that is in approximately 50, 60 feet tall is moving through the trees very, very quickly, and it's coming straight for me. And I'm standing out there, and I've got my arms open, I've got my palms out by my side, and I'm waiting for this, and I'm going, God, this doesn't sound good to me at all. This is not good for me. So right before it gets to me, and you can't see a darn thing, right before it gets to me, I hightail it back to that RV, and I've got my clothes on, and I'm just like going, oh, please don't let it kill me. Hopefully it doesn't eat recreational vehicles. I'm just sharing this with you because this is part of my early Kundalini testing, where I was tested by forces that should not be. You should not have 60-foot tall invisible forces moving through the forest, tossing the trees aside like they're little blades of grass, coming right at you because you're feeling compelled to go outside of your RV, stand naked, and wait for it. Okay? And let me tell you, I know all about fear and how fear can really change the vector of approach with regards to Kundalini phenomena. And this was all Kundalini phenomena. Okay. So I want you to understand that fear is in itself a testing vector of response that you can learn from. You can learn very, very, very positive lessons. And I did. Out there in that Valley of the Moon, I learned very, very, very positive Kundalini lessons about fear, about being in a natural environment, about being natural in a natural environment, and how that plays when you don't have the clothes on. Well, you don't have the connection to your society. You don't, because I don't wear jewelry. The only thing that would connect me to my society would be my dental work. Okay? I don't have jewelry, I don't have earrings, I don't have necklaces, I don't have any of those things. Because when I take the clothes off, I take the watch off too. And so everything that connects the ego to society is now gone. And you're in the middle of this forest, you're standing there, and you're going, whoa, this is new, this is different, this is strange, and let's have Kundalini experiences on top of that. So it can really, really test your ability to manifest courage. It can test your ability to manifest the kind of thinking that is required that allows you to accept this Kundalini teaching. And when you know that it's Kundalini, or you have a teacher that is saying, okay, Joe Jones, I want you to go out there, I want you to take your clothes off, I want you to stand naked in the forest, and I want you to wait for whatever is coming for you. Think about that. How would you feel as Joe Jones as you wait for what's coming for you? And it is indeed coming. And it is not necessarily a bad thing. But our ego fears push that programming because it's unknown. And because it's unknown, we interpret it as being bad. And it does not have to be. The one thing you need to do is place your trust in your Kundalini. And if the Kundalini has assigned you a flesh teacher, you place your trust in that flesh teacher and the Kundalini that assigned him or her to you. That is what you do. And when you do that, to a great degree, the fear just dissolves. There is no fear because you have total trust in the forces that have placed you where you are having that phenomenon. And the entities can attack, and they can attack, and they can attack, and they come to you in your dreams and offer you pills, offer you, giant needles. They can offer you, if you just cut your head off, well, then you'll be enlightened because your head will be less light and it will be really a light thing compared to your rest of your body. So they can do whatever they want, but they cannot abrogate. They cannot harm your trust or your faith in the flesh teacher and the energetic divine teacher that is giving you these experiences. I don't care how many entities attack you. I believe we heard last week about from Julia about how when an awakened man went into a cluster of entities, they just flew to the roof. They flew to the roof. They flew away. Why do you think that occurred? Because they could not handle the radiance. They could not handle the level of illumination. They could not handle these things. And the same thing will happen with you. The same thing will happen with you. Now, I would like to introduce a very, very special guest. We are being honored by the presence of a captain of the seas, a captain of the wild waves of the Gulf of Mexico, where the pirates used to roam. We are being graced with His Holiness, the captain of the high seas off the west coast of Florida. Sailboat Mike, how are you?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Hi, matey, I can hear you now. Do you have an eye patch and a wooden leg?
Not yet.
How are you, Mike?
Very well, thank you. How are you, Chrism?
Good. Now, let's get right into the meat of this. Now, what did I tell you in our previous conversation with regards to how I would suggest, and I have to tell everybody, Mike has been a student of mine for about how many days?
Oh,
60
a private
days?
student, maybe 40 something. I don't know, since the seminar, I guess. So whenever that was.
So really not a long time, and but I have given him very specific instructions. And how is it that your teacher has given you to look at the ocean and your relation to it?
Well, essentially, you told me to regard the ocean sort of as the Kundalini, as maybe a metaphor or a physical representation of the Kundalini, and certain aspects of my practice are geared towards that.
And what is your boat?
What is my boat?
Yes.
Well, in the analogy that you gave me, my boat is the practice of the safeties.
And who are you in the context of that practice? Who are you?
I guess I don't know. You didn't really say that, but I imagine myself to be sort of the helmsman of the boat.
That's right. And the boat is your body.
Okay.
The boat is your body as you cruise the seven seas, from a Kundalini standpoint. And I really like that analogy, and I really like it with you because Mike actually goes out in his boat. He sails in his boat, and he encounters difficulties when he's out there. And Mike, if you can describe the difficulty that you described to me earlier today, what happened to you 5 minutes after you took your boat out?
Well, my wife and I bought our boat probably about 3 years ago now, and we ran aground as soon as we turned out of sight of the marina where we bought it. We were probably 200 yards from the marina, and ran aground, and then I was able to get out of the boat, and thankfully the soil or the bottom was pretty sandy and soft, so there was no damage done or anything. We're going pretty slow. Well, you always go pretty slow in a sailboat, but able to push ourselves off, and then we ran aground again about a minute and a half later. So we had two quick ones, and then haven't been aground since. But there's always a next time.
Mr. Optimism. So the thing is, and with the Kundalini, there are plenty of opportunities for a person to run aground. And you may have to hop out of your boat. You may have to push yourself off the sandy bank or off the rocks, or from getting twisted up in the seaweed, or many of the different things that can happen to a person sailing the Kundalini. Sailing the Kundalini and sailing the Kundalini with the wind, and the wind is the speed of your practice. It is the breath of God blowing you across itself, blowing you across the ocean into possible problems. Am I right, Mike?
Oh yeah. There's always a situation. You can be in control of so many things, but there are certain things each time you go out that you can't control, and you have to try to deal with them somehow.
Right. It's the weather, the current, the size of the waves, right?
Yeah, and it's different. It's different every time. You can go out 2 days in a row with the same forecast on both days, and they'll be completely different. So there's always a situation lurking that you can try to be ready for it, but there's always one waiting that you might not be ready for.
Right, and the same thing happens with the Kundalini, ladies and gentlemen. The exact same scenario exists with the Kundalini. Every day is a new day. Every night is a new night. You never go into this process as a total replication of the previous day or night. You're always moving forward. You're always moving forward, even when it seems like you're moving backwards. And let's talk about the ocean a little bit more. And Mike, are there denizens of the ocean that might see you as a really lovely piece of protein?
Oh, sure, yeah. There's all kinds of crazy stuff down here. There's Florida's the number one in the world in shark attacks, and they're around. So they're out there. You've got stingrays that can mess you up, and jellyfish. But yeah, there's lots of sharks.
And can you see kind of a very similar quality of analogy between a shark and an entity?
Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that, but
yeah. The
yeah.
Entities, sharks have a very similar quality, except entities can't really kill you and chew you up like sharks can. So I would say within a physical level, the sharks are quite different than, say, an entity on the physical level. But in an energetic level, the entities can be indeed, great levels of scary monsters that will descend upon a person having a Kundalini awakening, especially when they don't know when it's occurring. And like as Mike described, many different things you can be prepared for, but there are some you're not supposed to be prepared for. That's what makes a good test. Just like Rosemary, when she's looking at the Sri Yantra, and all of a sudden the pattern pops off the page, pattern pops off of the painting itself, and like, whoa, that's not supposed to happen. And with Rosemary, she immediately questions her mental status. What's going on with me? What's my mind showing me? Okay. And so, Mike, when you're sailing across the Great Gulf of Mexico, how often do you allow fear to control your actions?
You try not to, and thankfully I haven't encountered too many situations that cause a reaction of fear. And the more that I sail, the less that becomes part of the equation. But if you do react in a fear-based way, your decision making seems to not be as effective, and you really have to be able to think ahead, but also think on your feet when things start to happen quickly. So.
Right. And the same thing goes with the Kundalini. It's exactly right. I mean, when you go into fear, the first thing that comes into control is your ego and the survival-based quality that fear can begin to place in charge of your decision making. And you really need to think on your feet and to really begin to bring in those levels of trust, those levels of faith, those levels of understanding and clarity about the Kundalini process that hopefully a person may be learning through some of these conversations that Amelia and John have allowed us to all participate in. Hopefully the knowledge that you receive here helps you on the deck of your Kundalini body as it sails the 7 seas, the 7 chakra seas of the Kundalini awakening. You see, there are so many valuable metaphors that a person can use between being a sailor on the boat in the ocean and the Kundalini awakening coming into the inner ocean of the sacred divine, as Mike is experiencing right now. Now, Mike, have you had anything scary with regards to your awakening? Anything happened to you that scares you yet?
I think, my first sort of larger phenomenon that occurred, I reacted with fear maybe for a second. It was something that happened in my sleep, and it was almost like I was woken up out of my sleep, and I thought there was an earthquake. And I'd never been in an earthquake before, but it felt, like inside, and I realized it was inside my body. But I mean, until I realized that, I think I was startled awake, so I was scared for a second. But I knew what it was when it kept happening, and then I was able to kind of settle myself down and just ride it out, and it probably lasted, I don't know, it's hard to tell, 15 seconds, something like that. But.
And this was like a spinal sweep for you, or what? What was
it? I don't know. I didn't, I wasn't feeling, anything shooting out of the top of my head. I didn't leave my body or anything like that. But it was like, my whole body was kind of rumbling, and there was a sort of high-pitched noise in my, inside my head. And it was strange because I thought it was all, I thought that the quake and the whole room was shaking, but it was just me.
Yeah, that sounds like a very good, strong Kriya for you. Something to wake you up. Something to wake you up. Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for appearing on the program today, Sailboat Mike. And for anybody that wants to sail off the west coast of Florida, I want you to get a hold of Sailboat Mike. I will not give you his phone number. But you just put it out there to your Kundalini, and your Kundalini will do the calling.
I'm always happy to take anyone out, and thank you for having me on, and thank you to Amelia for putting me on, and everyone for listening.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, with the ocean and its many forms of life, everything from sharks to stingrays to basically, and it's not just the ocean. All of the jungles and the forests of this world, oceans are just underwater jungles and mountainous terrains. They all have life forms that are very similar to entities. The entities feed on your energy. They don't necessarily need to feed off your physical body. But if they feed off of your energy enough, then of course it will have a depleting effect upon your physical body. And so the thing to do is just to realize that the Kundalini is giving you entities as a level of testing. It's giving you this phenomena as a level of testing. It's giving you a really, really insane teacher like Chrism as a level of testing. Ask Santara. Santara, she's coming on board here.
Yes, Chrism.
Have you had any kind of insane assignment that Chrism has assigned you?
No, Chrism. I do want to say though that I loved that talk with Sailboat Mike, because the ocean has always been a metaphor for me. I mean, the Kundalini ocean with the waves and the storms and the whirlpools and the doldrums and the creatures that live in it and being smashed up onto the shore and pulled back out again has always been a part of how I have described my own Kundalini process. So listening to that conversation between the two of you was really, really good. So thank you to Sailboat Mike. I'm avoiding your question, of course. Can I say something about testing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because testing, I mean, it seems in my own experience that this comes in cycles. You know that about 2 weeks ago I began a sort of a cycle of opposites happening to me in quick rotations, and these were real tests for me. Like, it started off with being brought to my knees in bliss, overcome with love and devotion. And then a very short time later, in the same day, which this was the first time this had happened to me, I was plummeted into darkness for no reason, depression, feeling so low. And it was an awful shock. And because I know about testing through your teaching and through having, different experiences of it before, when something unusual like that happens to me, when I become shocked or fearful, I will immediately now say my mantra that connects me to my Kundalini. And I'm saying it and I'm not feeling it, but I keep saying it because through the teachings you've given me and through the experience, it keeps me, I suppose, from allowing my ego to take over and control responses of fear or control those responses to the depression that I was, that was just overwhelming. And it's by doing the mantra and by doing my devotion, that is a trust, that is a statement of trust from me to my Kundalini at that particular time. And what happened then was suddenly the bliss started again, tears were flowing, sobbing with love and devotion, and of course the ego goes, oh, that's really cool. Which of course again is a distraction, so not to go in that way either, but to keep focused on the Kundalini and surrendering to what is happening. And what happened next after that was suddenly I was feeling apathetic, apathy. And really, for me, I experienced apathy a few years ago, and it's even worse than depression, if such a thing is possible. So when I felt apathy, which I haven't felt in such a long time, and again, it was sudden and overwhelming, I went into panic and I went into fear. Oh my God, no. My mind again, triggered just for a short while. Because of my practice and because of following your teachings, and my first response then was to begin my mantra again, my mantra of surrender and devotion. I was still aware of the ego talk, but my focus was on the Kundalini through the repetition of the mantra, through my devotion. And that again was a trust that, this test that was being given, it was surrendering really to what was being experienced, because I knew it was from the Kundalini. And it continued like that for 2 weeks, and, stuff happening at night and all that kind of thing. So, anyway.
Well, and the thing is when you're developing faith or you're developing trust, you cannot know the answers, or why would you need trust or faith? You can't know the answers. It has to be a mystery for you. You have to earn that answer by having that trust, by having that faith, by investing yourself into the mystery of what the Kundalini is giving you, and using the tools, the previous tools that the Kundalini has already given you. People have very, very short memories about how they have overcome some of the previous phenomena that has occurred with them. And especially when you've overcome it with faith and with trust in your teacher, trust in the Kundalini itself, and trust in its application of its love and its testing upon you. When a new phenomena hits you, it seems like all of that, for some people, will just go right out the window, and it's like, oh my God, this is terrible, this is horrible, how do I get through this? And this can really prolong the teaching. Going into severe levels of fear or anger can prolong that testing sequence. Let's just use a Kundalini fragmentation as an example. There are people that have had the Kundalini fragmentation for years now. They don't know why, but their whole life has been plundered. Nothing works anymore. None of the old ways work. And they're so stuck in the old ways that they can't understand that they need to try some new ways. They need to try some new responses to these Kundalini tests that come with a fragmentation. If your old job isn't working, well, then maybe you try to get a different job, a new job, something that isn't, what you've always known or what you've always done. If the old life is not working, then you must try something else. And one of the things that you can try is to trust the Kundalini within you. Trust the teacher it has given you, that flesh teacher, if it's given you one. And if it hasn't given you one, ask it to give you one. You have to ask sometimes. And I know people have a problem doing the ask. They want to, I can do it. I don't need anybody's help. I can just sit here inside my head and do everything I need to do, and that's that. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you need to reach out into the Kundalini and say, hey, Kundalini Shakti, Kundalini Shiva, sacred male, sacred female, Jesus, Mary, Shakti, Shiva, however you want to call it. I need some help. I did it. I wasn't above asking the Kundalini for help. And it did come through. I just didn't know I didn't know what to expect as far as a response to that asking. I didn't know if the clouds were going to open and the sunlight would break through like you see in these religious paintings, and some angel was going to come down and say, wow, Chris, you're so screwed up. Here's what you got to do. I didn't know how to respond to these things. But I did find that for me, the Kundalini did not typically speak to me in a voice. I didn't typically get words. I got telepathic images. I got telepathic communications without words, non-verbal communication, or as we like to form an acronym, it would be NVC, non-vocal communications. You'll hear a beep every now and again because I have my laptop on and it's conditioned to beep every time I get an email. So my apologies for that interruption. These levels of testing don't go away. You may get a platform or a plateau where it calms down, and your ego may be going, whew, well, I'm glad that's over. Well, I got news for you.
I recognize that.
It is never over. Even the phenomena is never. You'll get a platform where the phenomena calms down. You won't be having kriyas. You won't be having a lot of entity contact. You won't be having this or that, telepathy, any of the acidic expressions. And you'll think, oh God, I get this a lot. So what did I do? What did I do to piss off the Kundalini? How come it's not coming through me anymore? And yes, even those with Kundalini can say words like piss off the Kundalini, which means, for those of you who are learning English, that it means to make the Kundalini angry at you. What did I do to make the Kundalini angry at me? They'll come to me with this and they'll say, nothing. You just need time to process some of this stuff you've already been given. People tend to align their level of phenomena with their level of Kundalini awakening. And I know Rosemary does this a little bit because she, right at the moment, she's not getting, bombastic, she's not being thrown up against the ceiling and slammed on the floor and then thrown up against the ceiling and slammed on the floor. So she's thinking, well, God, what's up with the Kundalini here? All she's getting is a lot of jokes about the flying nun, which, she's probably so sick of now. But she's a very patient woman. She doesn't have the height. She doesn't have the right hat. But anyway, the testing never stops. Okay. Another student of mine, had, I'll have them do a mantra. These mantras I give people are very, very powerful. And I'll have them do them, but they're so powerful that the entities that are connected to a person and the ego that is connected to a person is in full-on resistance. They go into full-on resistance mode because the level of giving and the level of surrender is so intense with these mantras that the last thing the ego or the entities want is for that person to do that mantra. Oh my gosh, don't do that mantra. That's the constant level of instruction that they're being given. They're going, oh, well, how come you're doing this with that Kundalini teacher and the only thing you need is the Kundalini within? Well, gosh, how do you know that the Kundalini has assigned you this teacher? They'll do everything that they can do to sideswipe or to destroy a person's trajectory within the Kundalini awakening process. They want that person to be as ignorant as possible because that is how they can be as susceptible as possible to entity attack, entity incursion, and corruption through the forces of darkness that do exist on this world. And so as I'm saying with the other student, you can see the entities going, oh my gosh, Chrism, there's a huge level of entity attack occurring upon you. And there is. And there will continue to be. And, any prayers that people want to say for the work that we do and, all of this stuff, all the good intentions are readily accepted and appreciated. But I will never not be under attack with the work that I do. The corruptive forces do not want people to be enlightened healthily. They want them to be enlightened in a way that is corrupted, in a way that is harmful to them, in a way that is destructive to not only their spiritual process, but their living processes as well. So for all of you that are currently, having this happen to you, you just need to have faith and trust in the Kundalini. Do not let a second of doubt creep into your mind. Do not doubt the Kundalini. If you have any issues or questions, well, you can call this show right now. The number is 347-934-0026. All of you listening on your smartphone line, all of you that are listening there in the chat room right now, you can call up and ask a question. There's nothing holding you back except your own, embarrassment about, oh my gosh, I've never talked on the radio before. Oh my gosh, I can't do that. Here's the number again. It is United States, area code 347-934-0026. And the first person you'll talk to is Santara. Just to make sure you're not somebody wanting to say really strange cuss words on our program, which of course has happened. So as this testing occurs, it can increase in its power, it can increase in its frequency, it can increase in its projection towards corruption upon a person. And so I'll feel a headache. I'll feel like a headache sometimes. Or people may see, somebody who's sensitive to entities may see more entities around me. And it's, you know what? It is like insects to a light. With the insects being the entities and the Kundalini awakened person being that light. And I'll tell you what, they can crash and land on that light as much as they can, but they're not going to do anything with it. And if it's a flame, they'll just get burned. You need to know this. Everybody has their own equation within their own personal Kundalini awakening, and this is what karma determines for us. My equation is that I'm doing this work, and so I am set up in very special ways to be able to do this work, even though I would be under entity attack. It's like your body. You have an immune system. Well, Kundalini has its own immune system too. We're constantly fighting back cancers and viruses and bacteria that would try to cause us discomfort or give us illnesses within the domain of the physical body. We're constantly barraged by attack within our own body, and our white T cells surround those invaders, and they have, our immune system has a memory so that it can remember certain types of attack that comes to us, and it consumes them, and it gets rid of them through the alimentary and the urinal canal. So, the whole scenario is set up for us to survive, and the same thing is going on with your Kundalini. It's just not the same vector of interaction. Your Kundalini, the more you trust it, the more you have faith in it, the more you do with regards to accepting its presence within you, accepting it with love instead of fear, having trust and faith in what it is doing with you. The greater you're able to do that, the greater your immune response to any kind of entity interaction or corruptive force is. Follow the safety protocols. Follow the energy of my voice right now. My Kundalini is going into everyone that is hearing this broadcast in the future or in this present point right now, whether they're listening on their smartphone or their dumb phone or their Kundalini or their computer phone here, as we have the people in the chat room. Feel the integrity of the Kundalini coming into you right now. Feel it. Right now, feel that coming into you. And trust that. Trust your own Kundalini. Do not let your fears dominate your horizon. Do not let any kind of fear dominate how you accept and trust your Kundalini. I don't care how many entities are attacking a person. We are not doing this work by accident. We are not having the Kundalini by accident. It is known that we will be expanding and that we will be experiencing and that we will be teaching and that we will be activating and awakening people. Right now, I'm in the middle of a Shaktipat. And the question arises for folks, well, oh my God, Chrism, since you're under a constant attack of entities, does that transmit through the Shaktipat? Well, of course it doesn't. You have to remember people's karma. You have to remember people's individual Kundalini awakening equation. You have to remember the scatter field. You have to remember the safeties. You have to remember that any of the Shaktipots I give are based upon a person's performance and practice of the safety protocols, which include love and tolerance and forgiveness and trust and faith and happiness and inner joy. All the qualities that entities don't like. we are not operating within the void of society. It is known what we are doing. It is known what I, Chrism, am doing. You're not the only one who's listening to this program. I'll guarantee you that. You know, people come from all over the world to receive these teachings. They come from war-torn places where wars have been waged for over 1,000 years, and people doing the worst possible things to each other. You may be living in the United States or in another European country, and you may not have a remembrance of how World War II was in Europe. We may not have a remembrance of how the Civil War was in the United States or the War of Independence in the United States. We don't remember because, we're not that old. We can read it in a history book. We can see it on TV, but it's not the same as experiencing it yourself. Wars can be very, very, very harsh things. I mean, the recent war in the Balkan Peninsula, the war with the Serbs and the Croatian people and the Albanian people and the Montenegrin people and the Kosovans people, Kosovars and all of this stuff, as I have mentioned before, was a terrible war. And people will come into the Kundalini because of these wars, and they will have those entities that are attached to them that are from that war and previous wars. Some of the entities are of a karmic nature, i.e., there's a karmic debt that has to be paid, and that entity will stay until that karmic debt is paid. It doesn't mean that it has to have power over you. It just means that there's a karmic alignment or a balancing that is being made available to you by your Kundalini so that you can have a greater flow of grace going through you. Entities are not this terrible, terrible force of debilitating corruption. They don't have as much power over you as you might want to think, as your fear levels might want to think. It's just a level of testing. And every time you pass your test, you move another rung up the ladder. You move into another classroom. You move into a greater understanding and appreciation of the process that's moving through you. Do not be afraid of these entity tests. Do not be afraid of any of the tests, any of the phenomena-based tests that the Kundalini will bring to you. Don't be afraid of the Kriyas. I don't care how often they come. I don't care how weird they make you look, and sometimes they'll make you look weird, shaking hands and I mean, people having like what they would think a palsy would be, or, being put into different positions in front of your family or your spouse. Maybe go to a private room where you can have that. Being pushed out of body so that you can see yourself sleeping and, oh my gosh, am I really sleeping or have I died? Is this part of what dying is about, and the ego will always go to the worst possible scenario. But I am going to encourage you to trust your Kundalini. Trust and have faith in what it is you don't know, but you do know you're having Kundalini symptoms. You're having Kundalini phenomena. Just add it up. Go online and look at what a Kundalini awakening symptom chart might be. Having the Kriyas, seeing entities, hearing voices, seeing faces around you, seeing spots of light moving all over you, having intuition. Being guided to a certain teacher is also a phenomena of the Kundalini. Being guided against all odds to come in contact with a Kundalini teacher that is not well known, such as me. Nobody knows who I am. That may be changing in the distant future, but right now, I'm as well known as an ant in a cornfield. Not so well known is what I'm saying. It's very important for you to understand that the testing will never, never, never stop. You'll always be tested in some way. Your faith will be tested, your trust will be tested, your fear will be tested, your body mechanisms will be tested. And just because you pass these other tests doesn't mean that there aren't more tests coming your way. Let's talk about falling into the void. That's a whole new level of testing for people. When their world begins to not only fragment in a way where nothing works, well, their actual reality matrix begins to fragment. And you find yourself stepping out your living room door and falling into a darkness that you have no idea how to work with, how to be in. This also happens. It's also good to have a teacher that has been there and done that. You need to really begin to trust the Kundalini within you, no matter what occurs. Trust its choice of teachers for you. Trust its choice of testing for you. Afraid. Be happy and joyful that you're being given these opportunities to begin to learn how to discern within the Kundalini awakening equation. Learn to discern. And if you have any questions about this, or any other aspect of your Kundalini awakening experience, please call this number if you want to call in live. United States area code 347-934-0026. 347-934-0026. I'd like to bring Elizabeth back on. Hello, Elizabeth, my dear.
Hi.
I would like, did we get a chance to discuss with you your last very interesting Kundalini test?
Yes. Not on here, but, I discussed it with you.
Do you feel comfortable to bring it up for our lovely audience?
Sure.
Tell them what happened.
Are we talking about the recent sleep
yes.
furry spider incident?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it started off, I just couldn't sleep, went on for, 5 or 6 days, just, laying there at night, having visions, not really sleeping, interesting things, but nothing really.
What visions were you having? What visions were you having?
Well, the night of the spider, it was during the day, and I had laid down for a second to try to rest my body, and I just went into this other space, very South American jungle. I was walking along. I was with a group of people. I turned to my left, and there was a big wall of just solid vines on my right. I continued. I just walked down, and the vines were, 20 feet high, something. And all of a sudden, about 10 feet away from me, a big, dark, furry thing just jumped at me and grabbed me by the hand on the back of my hand and attached itself to me. And I looked down at it, and it was looking back up at me with 4 big round eyes, and and just really scary. My immediate reaction was fear. I tried to shake it off. I didn't have in the vision any reality or consciousness of where I was or who I was, or it just was went instantly to just my basic fear. And if there had been a table there or something, I would have whacked it on a table. I just instantly was so afraid. But I didn't. And then I looked down also, and she had fangs. And she looked up at me and then just sunk them into my right index finger. And I just remember also feeling like it was important that it was my index finger. I don't know. And then I instantly, as soon as she bit, I came out of the vision and was just back in my room, and then I knew who I was, and I went, oh, was that a dream? No, that wasn't a dream. I'm awake, and trying to figure out, what, and then just started going over what had happened.
Well, this is excellent. This is an excellent example of a test. Not only was it a fear test, but it was a discernment test. You knew when you came out of the vision, you knew what had occurred. Am I right?
Right, exactly.
And I love that you call it the night of the spider.
Yes,
I like it. Very Hollywood. Very Hollywood.
And it was night in the vision, even though it was day here. It was nighttime there because it was dark. So that kind of hit all my fear points, like fear of the dark, fear of the unknown, fear of large, hairy spiders with 4 eyes, and fangs.
Yeah. No, I hear you. That's very, very good. And thank you for relating that story. I'm going to put you in the blue here.
Okay.
Thank you. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. This is a great example of a person being tested by the Kundalini. And I don't know if I mentioned it last time, and I'll just go ahead and repeat it here. For those of you that have the sleep deprivation, where the Kundalini is not allowing you to go into sleep, it's not allowing you to sleep at all. And I think Elizabeth went a full 7 days without sleep. She was completely sleep deprived, for 7 days before she had that vision. And that is very, very, very much on purpose. That is not an accident. It's not because you're not having enough caffeine. It's not because of anything that's occurring. It's because the Kundalini is having it occur upon you. It is initiating this process within you so that you cannot go to sleep, so that you're operating in an alpha brainwave state during your waking hours, so that you can receive waking visions such as the night of the spider that Elizabeth experienced. Okay? This is how the Kundalini will also test you. This is how you will also have to come to terms with the level of interaction that the Kundalini can bring. I'm being shown myself standing naked in the forest and watching this giant invisibility tossing the trees aside, coming right at me, full of malevolence, by the way. There was a very malevolent feeling associated with this. And you will not always succeed. I certainly didn't succeed. I turned tail and ran as quick as I could. Not that the little eggshell of an RV that I was staying in would have been able to withstand a 60-foot being, but at least I had the illusion of safety that I clung to desperately at the time. And you will not always win either. The student that had the entity come to her with the big syringe and the big needle connected to that syringe, saying to her, well, if you want enlightenment, you just got to let me push this into your neck. And she bared her neck, and it just pushed that right into her neck, and she felt a rush of energy, and then that was it. Nothing else really happened. And so that is the level of lying that the entities will often push into a person. They never tell the truth. And if they tell the truth, it's really only for their own manipulative purposes, not to help you and not to bring you any kind of clarity or any kind of a positive teaching. And so this is once again why I say do not pay attention to anything that the entities come to you with. Dreams in your dream life or your waking life or any aspect of your life. However, with your phenomena, you can look at levels of truth with your phenomena such as Kriyas, such as any of the endocrine system testings, like having a lot of energy, having no energy. You can trust that the Kundalini is working on you. You can trust that the Kriyas that you're being put into are there for a purpose. You don't have to question those types of things. It's just when another form of conscious creation is involved that you begin to look just to the Kundalini or just to your flesh teacher, just so that you do not enter into a corruptive sequence within your Kundalini awakening. We're always looking outside of ourselves. Well, the Kundalini has got that covered for you. Not only is she within you and she's part of you and she's monitoring you and she's helping you to transform into a semi-divine individual, but she's also assigned an outside teacher for you so that it takes the place of any of the other outside of you machinations of what would want to come to you and corrupt you from an outside-in process. She's got the outside cover. She's got the inside cover. As above, so below. As without, so within. She has got you covered. The Sacred Mother has you in her protective embrace. And you just need to be comfortable with that. And I don't care if she comes as a serpent or a spider or a wolf or a hornet or a bee or a tiger or a cat or a dog or a wolf, any of those creatures. I don't care if she comes to you as a praying mantis. She's coming to you. She's coming to you. And she's in you, and she's helping you, and she's encouraging you. You just need to be open to that. Oops, such timing. So, if you have any questions about this, feel free to call up. The number is, yes, hello, Santara.
Well, I have some questions, Chrism, when you're ready for them.
I am so ready for them right now, my dear.
Okay. Well, this question is from a lady who has entity intrusions, and she is in a practice of surrender and devotion to the Kundalini. But this is what she says. She says, how do you know when you are blocked or being taught tolerance? It feels like I am blocked. It feels like I am back where I was a long time ago with kriyas, emotions, ego stuff, along with entities like they were before too. I know we sometimes have to experience all this again to learn things, but have a desire to delve deeper to see what is going on and learn from it. How do you know when to delve deeper or just sit still? I have asked the Kundalini to show me what I need to learn. Is it just ego wanting an answer to fix it? Or am I being taught tolerance? Or do I try to find an answer that is deeper?
Well, I think she's answering her questions all over the place.
Okay.
She's answering her own questions, of course. You need to look deeper, and of course you're being taught tolerance, and of course if you're asking for a greater level of instruction being given to you, and the Kundalini takes you back to your kriyas, back to your entities. I mean, sometimes we got to go back in order to go forward. We have to learn what we maybe didn't learn at first in order to relearn that, in order to go forward with that. We always have to delve deeper, and we always have to be still and know. But even more important, we have to be still and trust. We have to be still and let the strength of trust carry our process forward, whether or not it includes kriyas, whether or not it includes entities. Tolerance is also a part of trust. Trust is a many faceted gem. Rosemary, if you're tired, you can stand up and walk around if you like. I know you're sitting in that couch, so please feel free. Okay. Poor Rosemary, she's suffering here. It's like, I had to give her a brand new mattress last night, to sleep on, and it still didn't work. And oh my gosh, there's tolerance. She's developing tolerance right now. But yeah, you must be still and know, and you must be still and trust. You don't get to have it handed to you on a silver platter all the time. Not that this woman is expecting that, but a lot of us will expect, well, okay, asking ye shall receive, therefore I'm asking, and how come I'm not receiving? Sometimes you don't get to receive. Sometimes you have to trust the process away from your ego expectations. Next question, my dear.
Thank you, Chrism. It seems like the Kundalini is equally teaching me in the smooth moments and the rough moments of this flow. I'm learning to cherish both. But will there be a time when I don't even distinguish rough or smooth?
Well, yeah. I mean, once you learn specific the lessons of the specific phenomena that you're being given through your Kundalini, once you learn them actually, the same quality or characteristics that come with new phenomena won't really resonate with you so much because you've moved beyond that. So you won't necessarily have to repeat the learning. Sometimes you do. Like with the last questioner. But with this current questioner, it is not a rule that you must go back in order to go forward. Okay? As you manifest the understandings and the trust and the faith within the Kundalini cycle that you're in, you don't have to necessarily repeat that cycle. And if you're not repeating that cycle, you don't really recognize it as something that is constantly happening to you, even though it is. So, for instance, when I use myself, for example, plenty of entities are attacking me. Even right now as I do this show, I'm being attacked. Right now, I'm being attacked. Just as all of us who are listening to this program right now are having certain aspects of their body attacked and their immune system is responding, well, so is the Kundalini immune system responding. What? Are you scratching yourself? Who is scratching themselves? Is that you, Santara? Oh, my God. We totally heard you scratching yourself. Oh, don't lie. I
was doing something else.
Don't tell us.
But yes.
Oh,
I should say no more.
G-rated program. Oh, my gosh. None of you listened to that. That was wrong. Just wrong. Anyway. So you don't necessarily notice some of the things that are currently ongoing because you've already passed that teaching. You've already accomplished that understanding. And therefore, it doesn't really need to be on the horizon of your current consciousness as you move into other levels. Now, you can think back to the lessons that you've learned, and as you think back to those lessons, you can revisit those lessons. And as you revisit those lessons, because you're in a Kundalini continuum, within the Kundalini continuum, you can once again re-experience some of the goings on that are happening with your body or with your energetic equation. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Next question is there a specific vitamin for general health, like multivitamin one can take? I get most of my food from my food just as a healthy natural. Anyway, so that's the question. Okay,
so this is what I would recommend for people to take. I would expect you to take a good, balanced multi-mineral. Now products, NOW products, has a good multi-mineral that they put out there, and I'll suggest that you get that. I'll suggest a good B100 complex, B1, 2, 3, 12, 6, B6, niacin, the whole thing with the B12, lecithin, choline, all of the different aspects of a B vitamin, a B100, especially for those that are in the extreme active state right now. They're going through kriyas, they're going through internal transformations, they're seeing a lot of entities, or they're having a lot of entity contact. Good B100 stress tab, I think some of them call it. Now also puts out a good product. These are some of the products that I use. Rosemary, could you go into the kitchen and grab me a couple of those jars so I can read off of them? Thank you, my dear. As Rosemary goes into the kitchen, I can tell you that I would also suggest that people take the vitamin E, natural D as in dog, tocopherol. 800 IUs, individual units is what IU stands for. I would suggest that a person begin to really look into large, not large amounts. I mean, I don't mean a gallon or anything, but having 8 ounces of fresh pressed carrot juice, organic carrot juice every day in the morning, or sometime during the day, having about 8 ounces of fresh pressed carrot juice for the combination of minerals and vitamins that are in the carrot juice. Rosemary, are you having trouble finding that? No. Can you bring them on in, please? Oh my gosh, you got a whole plate full. Well then. Okay. Can you just? Yeah. Thank you. So she handed me Omega Force Whole Foods. Omega Force. This is the Whole Foods brand. 369 complex. This is it has the fish oil, EPA, DHA, omega-3, omega-6, and omega-9 fatty acid, and it has borage oil. It has flaxseed oil, and they're all 369s. And you know how I feel about the Kundalini 369. So go ahead and hand me the next one, my dear. Not that one. And okay. Next one. And zinc and selenium. I will suggest that outside of the normal mineral mix, that a person take at least 50 milligrams of zinc, and at 200 mcgs, that's micrograms, so mcgs of selenium or less, as you see fit, every 2 or 3 days. Take them together. With regards to vitamin C complexes, and I will always recommend the complexes, I'll suggest that you have with food in the morning vitamin C at 1,000 milligrams, bioflavonoid concentrate within that vitamin C at 500 milligrams, hesperidin, that's hesperidin, concentrate at least 100 milligrams, rose hips at least 100 milligrams, and a rutin, rutin, concentrate at least 100 milligrams. And one is made by KAL, and another one is made by Solar Ray, and they're both basically the same thing. Okay, some have citrus pectin in it, and that is also good. I will suggest a good CoQ10 or coenzyme Q10 at 300 milligrams per tablet or less, to be taken with food once again. And this is just a rundown. Now I have a thank you very much, Rosemary. I have a battery, not a battery, but a vitamin package that I take that is basically for weightlifters. And I can't read you the ingredients right now, but if you're interested in that, contact me at KFire for all. That's KFIREFORALL at yahoo.com. KFireForAll@yahoo.com, and I'll be glad to give you the web address of these weightlifting vitamins that I take, and they have all of the components that I just mentioned, but in addition, they have things like bee pollen, royal jelly, and some of the really hard to get items that you can't really buy at your local drugstore or vitamin store. So it's very important to supplement yourself. Now, when you're taking these vitamins, you don't take them every day. At the most, you'll take them every other day. And even in a midway, you just take them twice a week. You don't want to over inundate the body with vitamins or concentrated forms of vitamins. You just want to keep a fairly stable level within them, and twice a week is good for that. Okay? Next question, my dear.
There's a question by Phil in the chat room, Chrism. He says, is it possible for the Kundalini to regenerate vital organs?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Nothing is impossible for the Kundalini. The Kundalini could grow a new eye. The Kundalini could grow a new tongue. It could, if an arm is taken off, well, the Kundalini could grow that new arm too. There's nothing of the physical natures that the Kundalini cannot manipulate.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is coming up now. Sorry.
Okay,
I was writing down your list, so I went off. Okay. It was a question from the group today. Oh, yes. Is it okay to make money on sacred things like Kundalini?
No. No, it is not okay. Divinity is not for sale. I don't get to charge for Shaktipat. The only thing that I can really charge for, and I do charge for, is my time teaching about the Kundalini, teaching, taking up the time of my own life force, taking the time away from where I could be holding another job and, having a good life and, doing all the things that everybody else does in this society. I can charge for that, but I cannot charge for a divine teaching. I cannot charge for a divine interaction. I cannot charge for those types of things. And typically I don't even charge for the divine teachings, as you'll as people know, for the, you know, with the level of information I'm giving on my free to the public webpage, my free to the public many groups, you know, one has 7,000 people, the other has almost, you know, 2,000 people, and the others are various numbers underneath those. You know, I give this stuff away all the time because I know how important it is. Just a second, she's going to keep pinging me until I answer to her. There she is. Okay. Just a second. Oh dear. Okay. Okay. All right, there we go. Help me out. Where was I with this when I lose that train of?
Yeah, we were talking about making money on safeties like Kundalini, but you don't really charge your time, Chrism, either, except at seminars, and that's even, to be honest, that covers other things besides your time. You typically give of your time free as well.
You never charge for a Shakti. You cannot charge for divine grace upon a person.
Never.
You never.
And you don't.
You can never charge for healing. You can't. See, that's an interaction of divine grace from the Kundalini. You cannot charge for that. That must be free, because Kundalini came to you free of charge. Even if you went to a seminar, one of my seminars, and you were activated, well, it's not the activation that you're paying for. It's my teaching that you're paying for. Okay, and so, you know, a lot of these guys and gals that are out there on the internet saying, "Oh, I'm so Kundalini awakened, and you must come to me. You must come to my ashram in India. You must come to my ashram in the United States, and it only costs you $5 million per person. It is almost free for you." No. You are not allowed to charge these ways. And for the people that are doing so, they're mostly charging you for having entity contact. You know, they've been surrounded by a group of entities that is feeding them lies that they're actually awakened with their Kundalini, and those entities are just waiting for people to come in, pay $1,000 or $1 million, whatever it is, you know, to come and partake of being possessed. Okay, so no. Now, some of the things that I do, like the bottles, you know, I'll put Kundalini Grace into a bottle, and Fashchi knows what I'm talking about. Hello, Mr. Fashchi. Where you can go into the molecular, you can see with your inner eye the molecular qualities of. I like to use dark blue cobalt glass. And that will hold the radiance within me, and it'll hold it permanently. And then whenever a person pours water or pours whatever substance they want to into that glass, that charge is carried over into that substance of what they put into the glass. And I'm allowed to pay for that. I'm allowed to charge for that because, you know, the Kundalini knows that I'm paying for these things out of my pocket. I did the first levels of seminars straight out of my pocket because I wasn't charging enough. I went broke doing it. And I didn't do a seminar for 4 years after that because I couldn't afford to. And I never even liked taking donations either. Had a big block against that too. But I'll tell you what, if I don't get a donation, or if I'm not able to sustain myself in the United States, I can't afford to have internet. I can't afford to have a computer. I can't afford to do any of this work. Very important that people realize that. And so I'm allowed to charge for certain things, but not for divine grace. The grace is not for sale. Divinity is not for sale, period. Next question.
Next question. It's about karma.
Whose car?
Pause.
Whose car?
Sorry, no, karma. Karma. And I've lost it. I think the question was, why have I lost it, for goodness sake? The question was, who decides, I have it, who actually decides karma? Why why we all think differently and some do good karma and some do bad karma, who influences our mind? I took that from the group.
Let's straighten out that question a little bit. Can you just go ahead and read it yourself quietly for a second?
Well, this is...
And first of all, this is not about your Honda, right?
No. I'm reading it as it's phrased.
Okay.
Who actually decides karma? Why we all think differently and some do good karma and some do bad karma, who influences our mind?
Well, let's take the first part of the question first. What was that first part?
Who actually decides karma?
We decide our karma. We are the ones that make certain choices and follow those choices up with actions. We are the ones that make these choices or make these decisions and then make the physical action, whether it's in response to the environment or social environment or inner thought wave environment. We are the ones that create our karma. Next part.
Why we all think differently and some do good karma and some do bad karma.
Why do we all think differently? Are you serious? That's a question?
Yeah. Why we all think differently.
We're all unique individuals. And through that unique expression, we all come into our life with different levels of thought patterns, different levels of thought ability, different levels of thought manifestation, and from those different levels are differences attained, which makes our thoughts and our emotions and our feelings unique upon the expression of this world. And what was the second part of that?
Who influences our mind?
Everybody influences our mind. Divinity influences our mind. Corruptive forces influence our mind. Your next door neighbor, the cat across the street yowling at 12 o'clock at night, influences our thoughts. Every aspect of human experience influences how we think. Is there another part to that?
No, Chrism.
Okay.
Thank you. No, there isn't. Thank you. And Phil Karuba on the group is asking another question. He says, because we have Kundalini, can we assume that when we die that we won't have to incarnate again?
Oh, absolutely not, Phil. And that's a good question, my friend. Thank you for asking that. Yeah, a lot of the Eastern schools, the Hindu schools or the Sanatana schools of India teach that, oh, my son, once you become Kundalini awakened, you have burned all your karma, you no longer have to have this body. And that's just not true. Not true at all. I myself have come into this lifetime with a secondary, tertiary Kundalini awakening because it does follow you into the next life. They say you can't take it with you when you die. Well, the Kundalini is the one thing. That and your memories is Kundalini comes with you when you die. And the next incarnation that you have, and you will have another incarnation, it will accompany you into that incarnation. Kundalini awakening isn't just for this current physical lifetime. Once you reach into the Kundalini awakening, every lifetime after that is like a rung on a new ladder. A new ladder. Enlightenment is just not so easy. That one lifetime does it, or even a slew of lifetimes ending up in the Kundalini awakening does it for you. Not at all. It is a far bigger multiverse of expression, of soul refinement. And so once you reach into the Kundalini and the Kundalini reaches back into you and does this transformation, well, you have switched the ladder that you have been climbing. You have been climbing an aluminum ladder before. Now you're climbing a golden ladder. And it's this golden ladder that takes you further and further and further into the divine refinement that the Kundalini is offering a person, that the Kundalini is initiating within that person. You, as an ego, you do not get this choice. Once Kundalini has reached into you, you are going to go on that ladder whether you like it or not. It's part of the divine soul refinement, as opposed to the physical 5 sense based soul refinement. You will now follow a divine set of rules, a divine set of refinements that will take you further into the, what it is to be a divine flesh upon a world of severe refinement like this world is. So yes, you will have many, many, many more lifetimes after the Kundalini awakening. If, and the one controlling aspect of this, and that's part of the if, the one controlling aspect is if the Kundalini wants you to. You're welcome, Phil. You're absolutely welcome. Anybody else on the group there? We have Manisha, we have Phil, we have MJ Henderson. Hello. We have Lauren White. Oh my gosh, Lauren, you're back. Good to see you again. We have guest 1998, 1955. We have one guest with a really long number ending in 425. We have His Holiness, the King of grace, the soul man of soul revitalization. His Holiness Fashji. Hello, Fashji. We have Atlantis Seeker. I've seen you before. We have Andrew Parmalee. Hello, Andrew. And any of you that have a question, feel free to ask a question. And any of you that are listening on your computers or on your smart or not so smart phones, please feel free to ask a question. The number is 347-934-0026. And do you have other questions, my dear Santar?
I do. I have another question, and it says, any suggestion and or technique for sperm retention while having a partner in a Kundalini context?
Yikes.
Yikes, yeah.
So let's just refer to it as sacred fluid, shall we?
Okay.
So for sacred fluid retention, there are many things you can do. You can pull out, go get a glass of water. Make sure you don't get it too close to the fountaining out position, because that can cause an expansion of the vas deferens, VAS, and then DIFERENS. And the vas deferens can cause you a lot of pain if you expand it too much, and you're keeping the reproductive or the sacred fluids within the vas deferens, where that for a man, that is just typically, that is not a holding station. It's not a holding station for sacred fluids. It's a conduit for sacred fluids. And so if you start using that as a holding station, it's going to hurt. And I want you to really be aware of that. You won't really have the option anymore of not fountain it out of your system. And so you really need to go very, very slow, and this is why in the Tantra traditions there's so many ways that they use for elongation of the process of rituals that help a person maintain levels of interest, maintain levels of physical responsive interest points. Within the tantric expression or the tantric practice, I have a lot of rituals that are there to help keep the interest happening and to help the man and the woman keep their sacred fluids intact while engaging in the action of the Shakti and Shiva, the sacred male, sacred female, in active merging. Okay, that's the important quality here. It is not, unless you want to have a child, it's not about merging for the explosive element. It's about merging as an active replication of what sacred male and sacred female are doing with each other. People use these techniques as a way to activate the Kundalini. So you can get into some of the tantric teachings. I tend not to do the tantric teachings so much because people always misinterpret it as just a great way of having strange sex, or another way of exploiting the information in order to subvert a partner into doing what you want to do with them, or things of that nature. They tend to corrupt it along the lines with their entity attachments. So I tend not to teach too much of the Tantra, and I've got such a great reputation now because of people wanting to have tantric teachings and then not having them, and then really just taking them out of proportion to what was being taught, and entities coming in and them not having the skill sets or the desire to practice the safeties, blah blah blah. It just goes on. And so I don't teach too much of the tantrics, but it is important for both men and women to retain the sacred fluids. It's not all about the men. Now, the women can have more of the orgasmic aspect than the men can have, but it is also good for the inguinal muscles to be used on both genders, so that those fluids are allowed to retain position within the body, so that they can be used in the spinal cord and in the cerebrospinal fluid as well. Did that cover it at all, or should I get into technique?
Yes, no, that was great actually. Thank you, Chrism.
Okay.
And the next one, well, at least I think it was. Are you okay? Are you finished?
Well, Atlantis Seeker's typing something. I'm not quite sure what yet. But yeah. Oh, somebody mentioned the E word there. Who is that? Let's see here. That would be Phil. There is a spot. Let's see. Oops. Atlantis Seeker. Can you, as a Kundalini awakened person, see your chakras all the time, or only when you meditate? Can you see them in the mirror, or only in your imagination? Okay, I'll be getting to that, my dear. No worries. Phil is asking, there's a spot between the scrotum and the anus that can be depressed, which prevents, that's true enough. Some people call that the G spot, but there's another word for it. I can't remember. Do you remember what that is, Santara?
No, I don't.
Oh, yeah, what is it? But, if you want to press it there, but that's still not going to take the pressure off the vas deferens. That just takes it, Phil, that just takes it from getting into the ejaculatory canal. And so it's not going to, it'll just keep it out of the stem of the jade stalk or the Shiva lingam or the penis. But it doesn't help with the vas deferens expansion, which is really where the pain will occur a lot of the time for people that are practicing this. And I'm not a real supporter of the cool draw, as another author likes to propose, and some of these Taoist techniques. I'm not real fond of those techniques either. I'm really fond of the techniques that keep the sacred fluids in the body, even as you have an orgasm. You don't have to have an orgasm that pushes the sacred fluid out. You can have internal orgasms that do not do that. Takes a little bit of practice, takes a little bit of instruction, but it can occur for both genders. So there you have it. Now I'm going to move on. And thank you once again, Phil, for a very good question. You're right on the money with a lot of this stuff. Now to Atlantis Seeker, can you see your chakras all the time? Yeah. And I don't have to see them as a reflection, Atlantis. I see them. I can go into them. I'm into the fourth chakra right now. Okay. You don't see them in a 3D sense. You see them you become them. You go into them. You're part of that whirlpool of energy that is over those specific nerve plexi. So not only do you see them, but you are them. You're in them. You can see them outside and inside at the same time. It's a very hard thing to put into the language, into 2D language, but it is a very, very, very inclusive form of being and viewing at the same time. I hope that helps, my dear. And it happens anytime. Whether you're meditating, I'm looking at it right now. I am part of that right now. I'm looking at Rosemary's right now, and I can go into hers as well. And right now, Rosemary's chakra position is in the third. She's really looking at the third, and I'm giving her a lot of energy into her third chakra awareness. And so, that's a great question, Alana Seeker. Thank you, and feel free to write more. Continue, my dear Santara.
Some people like Einstein, Tesla, or John Lennon, could they possibly have been Kundalini awakened too? Maybe Kundalini is the reason behind enormous creativity for people.
Certainly Tesla. Tesla, well, I don't know. Tesla had more of a UFO type thing going on. Because they're human beings, there's a possibility that Kundalini could be awakened within them and help them with those things. But I think that needs to be explored more from a Kundalini awakened standpoint. And I think that is I'll just answer it that much. Next question.
Okay. This was on the group today. It was from Fred, and he said, "Please help. I can hear the rattle of a serpent in the wardrobe, but I cannot see it physically. What does it mean? Why serpents rattle? Why not something like music or a person's voice?"
Because it needs to get your attention. If it was like music or a person's voice, well, first of all, the person's voice would scare me more than the rattle. Back when I was early in my awakening, that's the last thing I want to hear coming out of a closet, for crying out loud. I'll get a rake. I'll rake through the closet for that rattlesnake there. But if somebody's voice comes out of there, I go, "Oh shit!"
That's so true.
I can handle it. But anyway, so because it needs to get your attention, and it needs to get your attention that the serpent is calling. The serpent is calling, and it's also you're also being conditioned against going into fear. And I know it seems kind of weird that fear would be elicited as a way to take you out of fear, but that is exactly what is occurring. The more and the fact that the person is asking this on the group, on the 7,000 member group, because the Kundalini knows you're going to write this question to the group, and it knows the level of response that this group is going to give you, and so it knows that it's helping the person, Fred, come into a greater understanding and resonance with this phenomena than he would have otherwise been able to come into on his own. So it's not going to come like soft little fluffy clouds and sugar plum fairies floating over a rainbow saying, "Here's some free candy, little one." It's just not going to do that. It's going to come to you in a very strong and a very sacred manner, a way that forces you to begin to face your fears. And by the answers that it knows he's going to receive levels of trust and faith that the Kundalini is coming to him in the best, most profound, and most productive way for it to come through him. And as I wrote to him on the group, be grateful for any way that the sacred divine chooses to communicate with you. Be grateful for any of those ways. Don't wish for, celestial music or sweet, a voice going, Come, it's your Kundalini fairy and I'm in your wardrobe. Don't expect those ways. Next question.
Okay. Why are some people able to give healing and others not?
Well, why do some people have blue eyes and others have green eyes or brown eyes? I mean, we're all unique. We're all unique in our awakening. We're all unique in our karma. And some people's karma they have earned the right to give healing for another person. Not to say that you can't learn it. You can learn techniques to give healing to a person, opening a door, buying lunch for a senior citizen. I mean, those are pretty effective ways of helping people get healings in this world, and I'll suggest that you start in those ways first. Learn how to give a healing with the 5 sense dynamic before you try to expand it into 100 sense dynamic or into the Kundalini dynamic. You start small, you start slow. You can do a healing. Anybody can give healing. Just, if you're asking to become that magical healer where you don't get to see how the healing is being given, well, that takes a certain level of karma, a certain level of grace, a certain level of assistance from past activities, a certain level of being given the grace that, say, Santara has at this moment. When she, and she's practiced this. She has the Kundalini. She's gone through the many, many levels of Kundalini fear, of Kundalini entities, of Kundalini obstruction to her normal life. She's worked and she's gone through that, and she's lived to find a teacher, to have a teacher, to listen to that teacher, to practice what that teacher's given to her. And so now she has Kundalini-infused therapeutic touch, and she can go out there and do those healings. But it didn't just drop from a cloud. Or did it, Santara?
No, it did not. It took a while unfolding, but I think what you said about, begin with the 5 senses and doing those kindnesses for people, that it's amazing how healing that is, and we don't always know what we do, the effect it has on somebody, and the healing effect that can have. Even a smile can have an amazing healing effect, for somebody. So those are wonderful ways to begin.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. Next question.
We've one more question. Can we awaken the Kundalini by just setting the intention to awaken the Kundalini?
If you follow through with what that Kundalini within you tells you to do, or you have a teacher, or you have a certain technique, or you follow the safety protocols, yes, indeed, you most certainly can awaken the Kundalini by setting that attention and following through on what is required to manifest the Kundalini in your life. I'd like to say thank you to all the people that are listening on the chat room. I would like to say thank you especially to Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez, to Rosemary Goliath, to Sailboat Mike. I would like Elizabeth Dalton to come on right now and give the dates and times for the seminar there. Elizabeth, please repeat your
Hi.
Repeat that information quick. We're running out of time.
Okay. So the dates one more time are Saturday, May 9th and Sunday, May 10th from 9 to 6 p.m. both days at Manresa Castle in Port Townsend, Washington.
And your phone number?
360-732-7076.
360-730-7076. And I'd like to thank you, Elizabeth, for coming online. I'd like to thank everybody in the chat room, everybody who is listening on their smartphone. I would like to thank MJ Henderson and everybody else who is listening, Lauren White. I would like to thank you, my dear Santara, and your excellent husband, His Holiness, John O'Connor of the Kundalini Awakened O'Connor clan. And I'd like to thank you, Santara, for having this and being the co-host. And I look forward to talking with you and sharing with you and everybody who comes to listen to this Kundalini Conversations. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.